So I feel like this was kind of inevitable, right? The Canucks and the Oilers fan bases are totally insane. And I feel very comfortable saying that as somebody who has lived in Vancouver and who has experienced the social media side of things, both sides. We've seen Edmonton fans, we've seen Vancouver fans, the slobber knocking going on online. And the game hasn't even begun yet. The series hasn't even started yet. But already we are getting vitriolic, hateful messages getting sent back and forth from Edmonton to Vancouver and vice versa. But in this video, what we're going to be doing is talking about some of the other loose points that have brought themselves up, as well as how apparently the Vancouver Canucks and the Oilers got talked to from the NHL heading into this entire series. Now, we'll start off this video by going over why you clicked on it. Here's a tweet made by Jabo Vancouver that pretty much summarizes this idea. It's interesting to hear Rick Tocchet say that the NHL had a meeting with both of these teams today, Vancouver and Edmonton, and one of the points that the NHL emphasized was embellishment. Heading into a series with the Oilers, whom we know they are willing to do what they have to do to create power play chances, that could be very important. Now, this is a very vague tweet. It doesn't go out there and directly assess what exactly it was the NHL talked about, nor did Rick Tocchet's comments go out there and confirm or deny any specifics. But if embellishment is one thing that the NHL is going to be trying to lock down on in this Vancouver and Edmonton series, then we might have to keep our eyes peeled a little bit for that. In the last series for Edmonton, there was already sort of a thing floating around about embellishment because you had Kevin Fiala of the Kings actually get an embellishment call in that game, what was it, Game 5 against the Oilers? And part of the reason this was a big deal, and they had talked about this in the broadcast, it was Elliot Friedman, I'm pretty sure, who brought it up, and Kevin Bieksa spoke too, was the fact that Kevin Fiala over the past few years has been known to kind of go down easy, quote-unquote, and draw these penalties so that the Kings can get on power plays, and how, over time, building that reputation up, it led to a point where at the Game 5 against Edmonton this year, he went a bit too far, and he got the embellishment called on him instead of giving the LA Kings just a regular old power play. So, if the NHL is going to start thinking about that, you have to start talking about special teams. Hey, the Edmonton Oilers, they have the best power play on Earth right now. You know what's interesting? The Predators had the best power play on Earth heading into the postseason. And what happened then? Okay, I'm going to settle down. We could talk about some of the smack a little bit later, but this is going to be an interesting dynamic because the Oilers' power play is so good. Meanwhile, the Vancouver power play, it wasn't really great. Their penalty kill was awesome, though, I will say that, especially against Nashville. But, you know, of course, Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman, Bouchard, not the same power play as what the Predators have. But another thing to consider is the calls that will be going Vancouver's way. Because the entire year, Elias Pettersson has been one of the top guys in drawing penalties for the opposite team. He gets taken down easily, he's skinny as a twig, he falls down, and sometimes, more often than not, it leads to calls. So, the Canucks have been a pretty good team when it comes to giving themselves power plays. The Oilers are so good on the power play that with this idea of embellishment in mind that the NHL was tossing out there, saying to both teams, hey, this is something we're going to try to crack down on, we want to make sure that it doesn't happen, that is something that I think we should be paying attention to. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, firstly, about the NHL talking to both the Canucks and the Oilers about the tolerance, I would assume, of the embellishments in the game, and how do you think this is going to affect the series heading into the next few games here? Edmonton might be doing everything they can to put themselves on that man advantage, but we will see if they go to Kevin Fiala lengths of quote-unquote embellishment to make it happen. And furthermore, if they do get those power plays, how is Vancouver's penalty kill going to stack up? Now, that transitions nicely into the other things that we can talk about in regards to this series, because when it comes to the Canucks and the Oilers fans on Twitter, my goodness, has it been a bloodbath. Everybody was saying it. Everybody knew it was coming. These two fan bases are toxic as hell, and when you have toxic and toxic, toxic squared, it is not a good combination for civil, rational-based discussion on the internet. Maybe the comment section of this video will be a bit better, but I don't know. Twitter has been absolutely ablaze. There was a video going around. I'm not going to show it here. In fact, it's kind of a terrible video, not gonna lie, of a little kid in Surrey who is kind of shouting profanities into a microphone, and the crowd behind him is all cheering, and that clip went viral. It had like 2.7 million views on Twitter. Chances are you've probably seen it, but the replies to that situation, they got really nasty. A lot of Canucks fans are kind of saying, hey, like, this kid, man, come on, that's not cool. Like, I'm kind of ashamed to be a Canucks fan with this kind of thing going around, yada, yada, yada. But the Oilers fans, oh boy. Look, there's room for snarky trash talk, I get it. But the way it's getting amplified and the way everybody is, like, tossing mud back and forth, I don't want to say, like, I hate seeing it, you know? There's a part of me that loves the drama, that loves to see people just tossing whatever they can, just because I like sitting on the sidelines and eating popcorn while watching it. But at the same time, man, you guys got to be careful, because these Oilers and Vancouver fans, they're really getting heated online. Just do yourself a favor, if you're not on Twitter, just like go on the app, find a way to get Twitter and just search up like Canucks or search up Oilers and see all the replies. Everybody's back and forth crazy, battling it out, and a lot of this has to do as well with the bravado. Because the Oilers, they dominated the Kings. They kicked them in the groin, shoved them down to the ground, and gave them a good old-fashioned curb stomp before spitting on their carcass. The Oilers had no problems with the Kings, pretty much. And that mojo is going to help them. We talked about this yesterday in the video talking about how the Canucks' odds in the playoffs are not good, according to a lot of the analytical models and the way both of these teams were playing on paper. To Dom Luszczyszyn's credit, though, and this actually is sort of a follow-up to what we had talked about yesterday, Dom did admit on Twitter yesterday that the Canucks and the Oilers series projection, where Edmonton is projected to absolutely stomping on Vancouver, does not take into account playstyles. Take a look at this tweet. So Dom tweeted out once more the Canucks and the Oilers projected odds. The Oilers have a 74% chance of beating Vancouver, and they have a 23% chance of doing it in 6 games. This reply here from Hansen goes out there and asks, does your model take into account stylistic differences from matchups, or is everything normalized to various net ratings and projected from there? Dom says it's the latter. I don't think we have the necessary data to properly figure out the former. And that is exactly what I was talking about in yesterday's video too. The Canucks are not going to play the Oilers the same way they played the Preds. Not going to happen. Absolutely no way. The Oilers have a lot more pace, but with pace comes more opportunities for opened up pockets of space, and that allows Vancouver to exploit more offensive opportunities than what they were given in Nashville. There was no space in Nashville. Everything was kept to the outside, and the Preds played such a defensively locked down game that it forced Vancouver to do the same. Elliot Friedman had a hit on 32 Thoughts earlier today, I'm pretty sure, where he said pretty much that he feels like Vancouver actually has themselves a very good chance of giving the Oilers a difficult time. And Friedman is one of the only guys who went out there and pretty much said, yeah, no, I don't know if it's going to be like an easy Edmonton victory. And we know the Oilers have been good. We know they have been stomping. We know the Canucks struggled to produce offense, but analytical models taking into account the past 4, 5, 6 games of these two teams are not really going to get the bigger picture as to what they can do against each other. So heading into this upcoming series, I mean, what was it, 24 out of the 25 ESPN writers or TNT people went out there and said that the Oilers are going to win the series, and only one of them said Vancouver is going to win in 7. We'll see what happens then, but for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about, like, pretty much everything we've talked about here. We talked about the embellishment, how the NHL spoke to the Canucks and the Oilers about these ideas. We talked about the fans, we talked about mudslinging, we talked about Oilers and Canucks hatred on social media, and of course we had talked about the series itself, but honestly, this conversation is only going to last like 2 days. Once Game 1 starts and we have ourselves a result from that, everybody's going to be talking about that and the rest of the series afterwards. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section heading into the Canucks and the Oilers series. What are your opinions about everything we had talked about here? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.